Can't have him.
Yeah, we can start. It's just basically what Wayne gave me is gave me 2 questions.
Yep.
And one of them is, what was your role and how did you get started? First get started into it.
Okay.
And the second one was what was the long-term outcome, short-term outcomes. That's basically all he gave me. But I've kind of just added a few additional questions that's related to the subject. And he already explained to you what this is for. Yes, it's for the
oral history of the Miller and the Churchill.
Yeah, basically. Okay. Great.
Is this one supposed to be just the Churchill or both ships? Or anyway, he'll use
both. It's both.
The schooners.
Both of them.
So the question is about schooners in general. Yeah. And also, and I'll try to guide the conversation using these questions, but we can just chat about anything really.
Okay. All right.
So I'll just start with what are your names and what do you guys do?
Mark Gillenback. I'm the harbour master for Truro and Penryn.
Okay.
Yep. I'm Nigel Knight, and I actually work for Mark in the Truro Harbour.
So Mark, how did you first get involved in the schooners?
I responded to an advertisement in the Merchant Navy Officers newspaper, and I went for an interview for Chief Officer, and that would have been in early 1998.
Have you done this kind of job before that?
I'd been at sea for a number of years, and I fancied a change, so it certainly looked different.
So you always wanted to do something sea related?
I had been to sea since 1979 in the Merchant Navy, and I did have a couple of breaks, but I was recruited as Chief Officer for the vessels.
Nigel, how did you first get involved?
Well, I was introduced to the Sail Training Association certainly long before the Malcolm Miller arrived. I was introduced to the Winston Churchill by a chap called John Dines, who had already sailed as a watch officer, and I sort of got recommended, if you understand what I mean, and sent as a watch leader at the age of 24. Or yes, I think it was about 24. So it was a long time ago, as far as I'm concerned, and certainly one of the very early voyages for the Sir Winston Churchill under Captain Glyn Griffiths.
What did you both want to achieve out of it when you first started?
Well, as far as I was concerned, it was an opportunity to sail in large vessels. Having spent quite a few years previous to that sailing in large gaff rig vessels, and had experience in that, which is how I managed to get in there in the first place. It was simply an interest in the vessel initially, but as time grew on, it became an interest in youth work in general, and helped to promote that, and sort of changed my career for a while.
It was an interesting opportunity, and since I left sail training, I did find the brochures. I'd made an inquiry to go and sail as a volunteer third officer navigator, and I never did fulfil that dream, if you like, and then the advert came up and I went there as a professional member of the crew. And it was just a rewarding job. You met people from all walks of life, and lots of young people that had lots of challenges, and it was really rewarding to see them benefit from some of the trips that we did.
So you started in sail training?
No, I was in the Merchant Navy. I started in the Merchant Navy in 1979.
Right.
And it was 1998. I was working in the offshore industry up in actually in the North Sea. And there was a little dip in the industry at the time, and I had a few choices where I might end up working, and I think it was Africa or the Falklands, or move somewhere. So I moved and went sail training.
That's cool. I'm pretty sure on the job everyone makes a lot of mistakes. If you can just share a story on what mistake have you made that you learned from, the biggest lesson you can learn from. If you can think of any.
I suppose the biggest mistake that I made was not staying involved with it. Although it wasn't possible for me to do that. But really, that was a big mistake as far as I was concerned. But I don't think there's any mistake as far as my career, if you like, with the Sail Training Association.
And where do you feel the most pressure while you're on the voyages?
The most pressure?
Yeah, where the most pressure come from for you?
I think some of the young people that we were involved with were a little challenging, particularly at the start of a voyage. But after 2 weeks, it was very rewarding to see the changes that could be achieved or that were achieved with young people over those periods.
And roughly how many people at a time would you take on to these sail training sessions?
Well, each voyage had 39 trainees, 3 watch leaders, and as well as the permanent crew, and a few other 3 watch officers, and a few other volunteers as well.
Yeah. And can you just remind me your position whilst doing the voyages?
Well, I initially sailed as a watch leader, and then I sailed as a watch officer for several voyages as well.
Okay, that's cool. And what do you guys do when you want to relax? When there's a lot of pressure going on and people are being frustrated, and you just need to bring the level down a bit?
Well, it was quite a social time, so a lot of people would go ashore and probably have a few beers and tell stories. Yeah, it was a great place to work and lots of interesting people to talk to. So,
where's the most interesting place you visited?
Probably the Azores. Fascinating.
Yeah.
The area. Old volcanic areas. They had whales there because there were very deep water in between the islands, and there was an island that we went to that was on the actual the American tectonic plate, but it was still in Europe. Wow. I can't remember the name of the island for a minute. It might have been Fico, but it was to the west of the Azores.
That's why you never sailed as a navigator, you see.
Yeah, well, it's a long time ago, Nigel. So, you use a chart and it'll give you all the names of where you're going.
Yeah.
But it's in the Azores group, and it had a very large crater, which we were able to go ashore and then take a pickup truck up this European-funded road to a place, an observation place, and you could look across. It was 2 kilometres across this caldera, or the crater, and in the bottom there were walls, stone walls, and there were cows grazing in the bottom of it.
Wow, that's quite
It was surreal.
Quite a contrast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Where do you feel is the most interesting place you've been, Nigel?
With the sail training, I don't know. I never managed to get to the Azores and things like that. Certainly the interesting places, Southern Ireland, and largely parts of the French coast that I hadn't been to before. So, and most of my voyages were Southern Ireland and the French coast. So. Those were the most interesting things, really. Yeah. Some of the British ports are a bit dour.
Is there any place that you want to go to you haven't been yet?
Lots of those.
Well, the schooners, they never went to the Caribbean, but the ships that took over went to the Caribbean, and I missed out on that. So
I heard it's really nice.
Well, they don't go there anymore, because it was quite difficult for them. It's quite expensive, and the yachts that followed on actually go to the Caribbean now.
And since started on the schooners, for both of you, what do you feel is the short-term outcome and what's the long-term outcome? Like what changed in your lives, both career-wise and also, personally-wise?
Well, personally, it changed my career for a while because as a result of working with all the young people on there, it established an interest in youth work for me and resulted in me going back to college and doing a degree in youth work, and that was probably the cause of the end of my career with the schooners as well, because I couldn't afford the time to go away on the schooners. So it generated an interest in that. Took me to college and a degree, and then enabled me to work professionally with young people for quite a number of years after that.
Yeah.
I finished my time on the schooners. I was promoted to a relief captain and got to sail. Literally, master under sail was quite unusual. So it's quite a responsibility to be in command of a ship with just a few professional seafarers and lots of volunteers and completely new trainees. So quite demanding, and it increases your confidence that what you can do and enables you to make decisions. And
what do you feel like is your biggest achievement professionally?
I was the last captain to sail Sir Winston Churchill in the tall ships race. So that was the end of an era, really.
What about you, Nigel? What do you feel?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
What would you feel is your biggest achievement professionally on the schooner?
As far as the schooners are concerned, well, of course, it wasn't a profession for me. I was there purely as a volunteer. Well, I think just to repeat what I said about the introduction to youth work, that was an achievement as far as I was concerned, because it did advance my career.
And what sort of background these young people came from?
Everything, from every background you can think of. I mean, I can remember coal miners to university students, and everything in between. So. They were literally from every profession.
Do you feel do you feel like this event changed their life perspective almost?
Certainly, some of them their lives were changed. Yes, I mean, very occasionally I come across somebody who sailed as a trainee or as a young person on there, and say, I remember sailing with you, although the idea of sail training wasn't to teach people to sail at all, it was about different things to that. It certainly led people into sailing and boating as an interest.
Not too big, so you get it quite personal.
From my understanding, it helps a lot of people out that some people need a different environment to find themselves in this.
I mean, it was a challenge to people. It took them out of their comfort zone and made them work together as a team. They had to work as a team in the watch to sail the ship. And it really changed people's outlook on life.
Yeah. Myself included, actually. I mean, 2015, I was on the what was it called? I was on a yacht, actually. It wasn't a tour ship, but I was in the regatta trying to hold on to dear life. Basically, I think Wing wanted to challenge us all, and I think I purposely didn't quite tell the full detail of it and how difficult it is, and then we all got to find out on day one when it was against wind and against tide, and we were on a little nine-person max yacht, and then we were heading to Weymouth. Or Dartmouth, I can't remember exactly which one, but it was doing that. It was 9 hours of motoring because it was against wind and tide. So
not very comfortable.
No, it wasn't very comfortable. but you know it does get better.
I don't go very because I don't really
And actually, the bad times is the ones that you enjoy talking about the most afterwards.
Yeah, give me 20 years.
And have you guys been to? Is there any situation that you remember clearly that it was kind of rough going and that you really had to be quite organised and quite strategic to how you approach it?
Certainly, there's been. I can recall voyages that have been rough. Yes, you know, coming across the Channel in a Force 9 gale with not very much sail up is quite an experience. Fortunately, I don't recall any gales in the early part of a voyage, but certainly as far as the trainees. Well, of course, some of the voyages were done with adult crews as well, and certainly I can recall, as far as I'm concerned, quite enjoyable sails under in strong winds, but. Some of the trainees and some of the adults were quite challenged by that, I think. Yes.
We used to do in the autumn. We'd do something which became known as channel bashing between Weymouth and Cherbourg. They were short trips, 3-4 days, and often in sort of quite strong winds, gales, and very little sail. So it was quite exciting, really. So and challenging. So.
Yeah, we don't know most of the big questions that I want to talk about, but we can just chat about anything really.
Certainly, as far as sailing in strong weather concerned, in strong winds is concerned, then you know, Mark as the captain or the mate is certainly under a lot more pressure in some respects than the crew who are doing what they're told to do. You know, the decisions are made, you know, at the top of the tree, as it were. But and that's where the pressure is.
Yeah, in interesting times. Other challenges as well. Sort of in the tall ships race, all of the compulsory socialising. It wasn't too hard work, but. It goes from taking part in the captain's cocktails on one of the ships right the way through to going in the crew parade and then meeting people from all nations and then focusing on some fairly interesting manoeuvres in close quarters in Stockholm. So it was about 3 hours to get to the start line of the tall ships race, and the trainees need something to keep them occupied, and they need to be getting prepared for the race. And I think one of the biggest challenges that I had was that we had a phone call from the office. One of the watch leaders, his mother was quite ill. She'd been knocked off a push bike in France and was in intensive care. So the family had all said, well, whatever happens, we want him to carry on. And so the difficult part was when we had that information is how we dealt with it and how we sat down and spoke to him about it. So that was quite a challenge.
Because your life is, your life on land is almost on hold when you get to go out to sea, isn't it?
Yeah.
And would you guys prefer the sea life or the land life?
I enjoyed seafaring. I still consider myself as a seafarer. But I came ashore when my son was 5, 6 years old. It's nice to see him grow up.